Good morning, everyone. Topic for today's class is management of various malocclusions. In this class, I'll be teaching you etiology, clinical features, and management of class 1 malocclusion with crowding, spacing, midline diastema, rotation, open bite. In next class, I'll be continuing with deep bite and class 2 and class 3 malocclusion. Crowding. Crowding is a condition where there is a malalignment of teeth caused by inadequate space. In this diagram, you can see malalignment of teeth due to inadequate space. Coming to the classification, it is classified into three types: primary crowding, secondary crowding, and tertiary crowding. Primary crowding determined genetically and is caused by disproportionately sized teeth and jaw. Secondary crowding, it is acquired crowding which is caused by loss of arch length due to environmental cause. Tertiary crowding, it is also known as late incisor crowding. Coming to the etiology, it can be due to hereditary and environmental. In case of environmental, it can be either due to trauma, discrepancy in individual tooth size, premature loss of primary teeth, prolonged retention of primary tooth, proximal caries leading to arch length discrepancy, rotation of tooth, abnormal eruption path. Coming to the clinical features, class 1 molar relation is seen. Mandibular incisor crowdings are there. Premature exfoliation of deciduous canine on the crowded side due to displacement of erupting teeth. And gingival recession can be seen on the labial surface of prominent mandibular incisors, reduced leeway spaces present, and bulging of canine can be seen in unerupted position. Coming to the investigation, in case of mixed dentition stage, Moyer's analysis can be carried out as a model analysis. Coming to the management, it can be divided into two: mixed dentition stage, permanent dentition stage. In case of permanent dentition stage, we have to check for the patient's growth pattern, whether the patient is in growing stage or in non-growing stage. Coming to the mixed dentition stage, we have to check for the severity of the crowding. If the crowding is slight, wait and watch. If it is moderate, we can wait till premolar erupts or expansion and guidance of the eruption. If it in case of severe crowding, expansion can be done along with the serial extractions. Extraction and orthodontic treatment can be done. Coming to the permanent dentition, you have to undergo investigations. Arch length analysis for permanent dentition like caries analysis should be carried out. Complete Kesling diagnostic setup should be carried out without proclination of the incisors. Coming to the treatment, either the treatment can be done by extraction or non-extraction modality. Non-extraction in case with mild discrepancy, non-extraction method of treatment is followed. Proximal reduction and treatment with either removable appliance or fixed appliance. Lip bumpers are useful in increasing the arch length. Arch expansion, molar dislication can be done. Coming to spacing, imperfection in teeth alignment and distance wherein there is a gap between two or many teeth. There are two types of spacing: localized and generalized. In localized spacing, it can be due to missing teeth, and the missing teeth can be congenitally missing or unerupted teeth or premature tooth loss of permanent teeth. Premature loss of permanent teeth. Prolonged retention of primary teeth, sucking habits. Coming to the generalized spacing, it can be due to microdontia, macrognathia, macroglossia, sucking habits, abnormal tongue posture. Now coming to the management. It can be done by orthodontic or combined orthodontic and prosthodontic treatment. Coming to the orthodontic management, elimination of the habits, localized spacing can be closed by removable appliance with spring. If there is proclination associated with spacing, Holey's appliance are used for closing of the space and retraction. If protraction of posterior teeth is required, then fixed mechanotherapy should be used. Prosthodontic management, crowns or buildups can be done. Combined, consolidate, and implant or bridge can be given. Coming to the midline diastema. Midline diastema is a form of localized spacing wherein there is a space between two central incisors. The causes, if it is normal or developmental, it can be physiological midline diastema, ethnic and familial, imperfect fusion at midline premaxilla or premaxilla. If it is in case of tooth material discrepancy, it can be due to microdontia, macrognathia, missing laterals, peg laterals, or extracted tooth. If it in case of physical improvement, retained deciduous, mesodens, enlarged labial frenum, midline pathology, deep bite. If it is case of habits, thumb sucking habits, it can be due to thumb sucking habits, tongue thrusting habits, frenum thrusting habits. If it is a case of artificial cause, it can be due to RME, Milwaukee brackets. Coming to the investigation. Measure the mesodistal width of teeth. Later on, you have to do the blanching test. Blanching test is done by lifting the upper lip and look for blanching of the soft tissue lingual to the two and between two central incisors. If there is blanching present, that indicates high frenal attachment, which can be the cause of midline diastema. Assessment of deep overbite. Look for the oral habits. Periapical radiograph is indicated. Coming to the treatment. If it is physiological diastema, the knot treatment is required. If it is case of microdontia, orthodontic or crown buildup can be given. If it is case of mesodens, extraction followed by space closure. Frenal attachment, frenotomy and space closure can be done. If it is case of deep bite, bite opening and space closure can be done. Coming to the orthodontic management, closure by tipping, finger spring, split labial bow, orthodontic brackets, and elastics between the centrals are the option for the management. Closure by bodily movement, by fixed mechanotherapy, closure by reduction of overjet, either by labial bow or fixed mechanotherapy. Coming to the rotation. Rotation is malposition due to abnormal turning of teeth along its long axis. Types: centric rotation or eccentric rotation. Centric rotation, only rotation around the long axis. Eccentric rotation, rotation with the tipping of the teeth also is visible. Coming to the management, derotation followed by alignment. Couple force can be applied for derotating the teeth as shown in the diagram. Open bite. Malocclusion can occur in three planes, that is sagittal, transverse and vertical. Open bite is a malocclusion in vertical plane characterized by lack of vertical overlap between maxillary and mandibular dentition. It may be anteriorly placed or posteriorly. If it is anteriorly, it is called as anterior open bite. If it is posterior, then it's called as posterior open bite. Coming to the classification, on the basis of region involved, it can be either anterior open bite or posterior open bite. On the basis of etiological classification, it can be either skeletal or dental open bite. On the clinical basis, it can be simple open bite, complex open bite, compound open bite, or iatrogenic open bite. On the basis of molar relation, it can be either class 1 open bite, class 2 open bite, or class 3 open bite. What is anterior open bite? It is a condition where there is no vertical overlap between upper and lower incisors. What is posterior open bite? It is a condition characterized by lack of contact between posterior when the teeth are in centric occlusion. Coming to the etiological considerations, etiology is not a single factor. That means it is multifactorial. Can occur due to variety of hereditary and non-hereditary factors. Epigenetic and environmental factors both are in concern. Some of the etiological factors responsible for anterior open bite are prolonged thumb sucking habit, tongue thrusting habit, nasopharyngeal airway obstructions, and associated mouth breathing. Inherited factors such as increased tongue size and abnormal skeletal growth pattern of the maxilla and mandible. The etiological factors responsible for posterior open bite are mechanical interferences with the tooth eruption, either before or after tooth emerges from the alveolar bone. Failure of the eruptive mechanism of the tooth so that the expected amount of eruption does not occur. Clinical consideration, depending upon the severity of the malocclusion, various forms of anterior open bite may be observed: pseudo open bite, simple open bite, complex open bite, compound or infantile open bite, iatrogenic open bite. Coming to the treatment, anterior open bite, removal of the cause, removal or fixed type of habit breaking appliance can be given, followed by myofunctional appliances. If it is skeletal anterior open bite, FR4 or modified activator can be given, fixed orthodontic therapy can be done, or surgical correction should be done. In case of posterior open bite, removal of the cause, lateral tongue spice for lateral tongue thrusting habit. If it is due to infraocclusion of ankylosed tooth, then the best treatment will be by treating it with crowns. Explain you about deep bite. What is deep bite? Deep bite is described as a condition of excessive overbite where the vertical measurement between the maxilla and mandible incisor margin is excessive when the mandible is brought into habitual or centric occlusion. Coming to the etiological consideration, it can be differentiated into two types, that is developmental deep bite and acquired deep bite. Now coming to what is developmental deep bite. As the name describes, developmental, it is genetic. Again, it can be further classified into two, that is into skeletal deep overbite and dentoalveolar deep bite. What is skeletal deep overbite? It is always associated with horizontal growth pattern, and that is a common type. Horizontal growth pattern will be seen in skeletal deep overbite. In case of dentoalveolar deep bite, it is caused usually by supraocclusion of your incisors. In this case, interocclusal clearance is usually small, meaning the overbite is functionally a pseudotype deep bite. And coming to the acquired deep bite, acquired means it's acquired type of deep bite, and at all, it's not genetic. A lateral tongue thrust or postural position frequently can produce acquired deep bite. This type of function produce a infraocclusion of the posterior teeth, which in turn leads to a deep overbite. The freeway space is large, which is favorable for dento-alveolar orthopedics functional appliances treatment. The example for this type of malocclusion are angles class 2 div 2 malocclusion. The other cause is premature loss of deciduous molar or early loss of permanent posterior teeth, which can acquire secondary deep overbite, particularly if the contiguous teeth are tipped into the extraction sites. The wearing away of the occlusal surface or teeth abrasion can produce an acquired secondary deep bite in some patients. A deep overbite can be localized in either, it can be dento-alveolar or skeletal. Now coming to the dento-alveolar deep overbite, it is usually caused by infraocclusion of molars, and few symptoms I'll be explaining you. And the first symptoms, what you see in this type of malocclusion are molars are not fully erupted. Partially erupted molars you can see in patients, and interocclusal space is large. As the molars are not fully erupted, the interocclusal space will be there and it will be comparatively larger. A lateral tongue thrust and posture is present. The distance between the maxillary and mandibular basal plane and occlusal planes are usually short. Deep overbite caused by over eruption of incisors. And the symptoms are incisal margins of incisors extend beyond the functional occlusal plane. Molars are fully erupted. Curvous piece excessive. Interocclusal space is small. Uh, Keep it clear in your mind what is deep bite and what are the main causes of deep bite. Either it can be of two types. Anterior deep bite, just imagine that. There, either it can be due to supra-eruption of your anterior incisors. First criteria. Second thing is because of your uh, infraocclusal in posterior teeth, where your molars are not in occlusal, whether it is not fully erupted or early loss of molars. These all things can also cause deep overbite. So what just explained is like when the when your molars, everything, posterior portion, everything is normal. Only when your incisors are over erupted, you can see these symptoms. Now coming to the skeletal deep overbite. It is, as I explained before, it's usually characterized by horizontal type of growth pattern. And in the anterior facial region, the anterior facial height will be always short. Just imagine your deep bite case, this anterior facial height, if you measure that, that will be usually short, particularly the lower facial third, whereas posterior facial height is long because uh, posterior region, fully erupted molars, everything will be there. So no symptoms or nothing will be seen on the posterior region. Only your anterior facial height will be short. The horizontal cephalometric planes such as sella-nasone, palatal, occlusal, and mandibular planes are parallel or can be convergent. The interocclusal clearance is usually small. You can see in this diagram deep bite with class 3 tendency. In that, what happens? Your mandibular prognathism and inverted overbite can be seen. In this case, vertical deviation can be related with any anterior, posterior, or transverse malocclusion. The first diagram you can see the anterior, mandibular anteriors. Class 3 tendencies there. You can see that. Usually what happens? Negative overjet is there. Now etiological classification is over. Now coming to the functional classification. In 1952, Hodge and Mullemans classified it into two types. One is your true deep overbite, second is pseudo deep overbite. What are the features you see in true deep overbite? Infraocclusion of molars are there, large freeway space will be there. The prognosis for successful therapy with functional method is favorable in this case. Coming to the pseudo deep bite, your molars are fully erupted, over eruption of incisors are there. In case of prognosis for this, the successful therapy with functional method is unfavorable in this case. And coming to how to manage the intrusion. Usually we can do intrusion in three possible ways. First is your true intrusion, relative intrusion, and apparent intrusion. What is true intrusion? How you achieve true intrusion? True intrusion is achieved by moving the root apexes closer to the lower border. In case of relative intrusion of the incisors is achieved by keeping them where they are while the mandible grows and the posterior teeth erupt. Only what we used to do is like anterior portion will be normal and we used to supra erupt the posterior region. Apparent intrusion is achieved by extrusion of the posterior teeth. In this diagram, you can see, first diagram is your absolute intrusion. You can see the cursor I'm moving this line. And in this case, relative intrusion is done. In this case, apparent intrusion, that is your extrusion of your posterior teeth, keeping your anterior teeth stable. Treatment of skeletal deep overbite. It requires consideration of sagittal dimension. Most skeletal deep overbite are combined with class 2 sagittal intercuspitation. During the growth period, the unfavorable inclination of the jaw bases should be corrected. This can be achieved by the use of extraoral forces or partially by an functional therapy. Growth inhibition of the upper jaw and growth promotion in the lower jaw combines with the endoalveolar changes should result in the improvement of the deep overbite. The treatment can be performed by using headgear in combination with activator. Dislication and elongation of the first permanent molar is the first step. The eruption of the teeth in the posterior segment can be guided properly trimmed activator. Coming to how to manage dental-alveolar deep overbite. In that, if it is too deep overbite case, the choice of treatment will be extrusion of the posterior teeth. If a lateral tongue thrust is present, you have to remove the etiology by giving a lateral tongue grip, which will be attached to the palatal plate. Now, coming to the treatment of acquired deep overbite, the treatment being carried out during eruption, leveling of the Gauss P can be achieved, carried out by use of an activator. Anterior deep bite can be given. Our deep bite section is over. Now, management of the transverse occlusion. What is transverse? Transverse occlusion, transverse malocclusion. The transverse direction, just imagine the example for your malocclusion can be classified into three planes, right? First is vertical, anterior posterior, and transverse. Example of Vertical malocclusions are your deep bite, open bite. Coming to the anterior posterior direction, it is your overjet, negative overjet, those things. Coming to the transverse malocclusion, your cross bites and scissor bites. Coming to the cross bite, it is a term used to describe abnormal occlusion in the transverse plane. I just explained you. A crossbite represents the disturbance in the buccopalatal or labiolingual direction when brought into occlusal. Now coming to the definition, which was given by Graeber. Crossbite refers to a condition where one or more teeth may be abnormally malposed buccally or lingually or labially with the reference to the opposite teeth or the teeth. Tooth or the teeth. That means it can be either single tooth crossbite or segmental. Coming to the classification of crossbite, first thing, according to this site, if it can be either anterior crossbite or posterior crossbite. In anterior crossbite, again it is subdivided into single tooth or segmental. In posterior crossbite, it can be either unilateral or bilateral. Based on the nature of the bite, it can be either skeletal, dental, or functional crossbite. Now coming to the etiology, it can be due to either a retained deciduous tooth will be there, or crowding and abnormal displacement of one or more teeth, presence of habits such as thumb sucking habits, retarded growth of maxilla in both sagittal as well as vertical direction. What happens when this thumb sucking habits prolongs? Uh, there will be collapse in the maxillary region. If you can imagine a maxilla, it's collapsing. What happens? It will further develop into crossbite. I just explained now collapse of the maxillary arch. Uh, in this case, it's not because of the habits, it's because of cleft palate. What happens in cleft palate patients? There won't be any support in the or retarded growth of maxilla will be there, which will further lead into collapse in the maxillary region. The narrow maxillary arch due to decreased growth stimulation in the palatal mid-palatal suture, sagittal discrepancy of the jaw, unilateral hypoplastic growth of any jaw, either maxilla or the mandible. Coming to the anterior crossbite, in this case, reverse overjet can be seen. In diagram B, you can see that is single tooth crossbite. And diagram D, that is segmental type of crossbite. Coming to the posterior crossbite, abnormal transverse relationship between upper and lower posterior teeth, lack of coordination in the lateral dimension between upper and lower arches. This diagram you can see in the posterior region, there is no, this maxillary posterior teeth are palatally tipped. Coming to the buccal non-occlusion, maxillary posterior occlude entirely on the buccal except of the mandible posterior. This is an example of your scissor bite. Lingual non-occlusion, maxillary posteriors occlude entirely on the lingual aspect of the mandibular teeth. You can see here, this is your maxillary teeth that occlude entirely on the lingual axis of the mandibular teeth. Now coming to the skeletal crossbite, it occurs as a result of malposition or malformation of the jaw, generally characterized by narrow maxillary arch. Coming to the dental crossbite, it results due to localized disturbance such as atrophic eruption of a permanent teeth over retained deciduous teeth. Now coming to the functional type of crossbite, it can be presence of occlusal interferences result in deviation of mandible during the jaw closure. It can be unilateral crossbite and habitual forward position of the mandible. It can lead to a anterior open bite. Now coming to differential diagnosis between skeletal and dental crossbite. How do you differentiate whether it is skeletal deep bite or dental, not deep bite, skeletal crossbite or dental crossbite? In case of dental origin, usually exhibits abnormal buccal or lingual axial inclination. Symmetry of dental arches on diagnostic study model will be there. Determine if there is any lateral shift of mandible during the closure. In the diagram, you can see dento-alveolar crossbite with good apical base width. In this diagram, crossbite with deficient apical base width. Coming to the treatment, in primary dentition, if the intermolar width is satisfactory, then elimination of deflective occlusal contacts. If both molar and the intercanine width are narrow, then expansion should be planned. In case of early mixed dentition, and if the patient is having anterior crossbite, then extraction of the primary teeth if there is not enough space for the eruption of the permanent teeth. If sufficient space is present, then with the removable appliances can be given. In case of posterior crossbite, either removable appliances or fixed appliances can be given. If the patient is in late mixed dentition, maxillary arch expansion should be planned. And if it is skeletal type of crossbite, then opening of the mid palatal suture should be planned. In case of dental, fixed or removable appliances can be planned. And in case of single tooth crossbite, usually cross elastics, that is opposite arch cross elastics are used. Thank you everyone for listening.